ends this video on making graphs using SPSS. As before, we will be using the Titanic dataset, which you can download from Vital Know-How Academic Success. There's also a handbook that you can follow. The advantages with using SPSS to make your graphs are that SPSS will transform all of the raw data into graphs with just a few clicks of a button. Unlike Excel, where you often have to rearrange the data or generate your own mean or average. So in order to make graphs in SPSS, you go to Graphs, and then I prefer going to Legacy Dialogues and going straight to the type of graph that I need. One slight drawback with using SPSS is that it's not quite as easy to edit your graphs, but you'll see what I mean. So if we do a histogram, so we only want to choose a scale piece of data or set of data. So I'm going to go for age, and I can identify that easily by the little scale symbol next to it. And that's all I need to do. I need to just select what I want my graph to be based on. And then it will draw a histogram for me. It will automatically label age and then the number of people who were in these particular ages. It gives me mean, standard deviation, and the number of samples that were included in this graph. So that was quite straightforward. I'll give you another example. If we wanted to build a scatter diagram, again, choose simple, define, and we must use scale once more. These are the only two scale variables we have. Unless you have a preference, it doesn't matter which way around they go. And then just press OK. And there's your scatter graph. It's not a particularly informative one. I wouldn't necessarily expect it to be, but that's how you would make it. So in order to make a box plot, you would go here, define, and now here we will enter a scale variable, for example fair, in this first box, and then a categorical variable here, so whether or not they survived. Was there a difference between survival when it came to the fare that was paid? And then OK. It also gives you this nice table that summarises what we have, and you will have seen similar tables in previous videos on descriptive statistics. We only have one piece of missing information, and I believe that was for fare, and you can see here that we didn't have any missing data when it came to those that died and survived. This is the graph that it produces. So I have in the handbook, I will have instructions, and I also have a description for how you can tell the difference between different parts of a box plot. Here we go, this is on page 13. So here is your median, your lower quartile range, your upper quartile range, your maximum value, minimum, and then your outliers. So that's what we are looking at in this particular graph. Now in order to edit the graphs in SPSS, you double click, the original graph is greyed out, and you're now presented with this box here. To change the colour, for example, you can select your actual bars. Now you might just about be able to see that they've been highlighted in a very pale yellow, and this is another disadvantage. It's not that easy to see when you've selected something in SPSS. If you wanted to change the colour of just one of them, you have to click again just once on the one you want to change the colour of. Now we've lost the highlight from this one. We double click on this one. This will give us a colour palette. We can choose here. Now there are some other options here, but I haven't fully explored them. So this, from the looks of it, will change the width of your bars. So you do have a few different ways that you can change the look. This is just to change the colour. I press apply, and now it has indeed changed the colour of all of these values. Along the top here are some shortcuts. You can also find them under the options. So for example, if you wanted to do an annotation, add some text, you can get to them through these different ways here. You can also get rid of your data labels, so all these labels surrounding it. So this is sometimes a bit more fiddly and tricky because there doesn't seem to be a clear-cut way of doing this. So I believe the best way is if you highlight both of your boxes, so make sure that they are all highlighted, and ideally you want all of your, that's right, so you want all of these highlighted as well. Hopefully this will work. When you go to elements, it will now have hide data labels. So if you now click that, You get a much cleaner looking graph without the labels, but sometimes it will say show data labels when your labels are already shown. So I think the important thing is to make sure that you have clicked and highlighted on the actual labels in order for that correct option to appear. So that's just a short video on how to use graphs.